What is going on, everybody? Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. As I always say, whenever, wherever, and however you're watching these things, thank you for watching. This is Digging Deeper here at Tuck and Siege, a little deeper dive into this past Sunday sermon. It's where we take the big ideas of our sermon from Sunday and maybe file them down to a finer point of application for us through this week, an opportunity to dig a little deeper and do a little bit of discipleship. The focus for this past Sunday sermon in Paul's writing, we're reading in Colossians. We're going through the book of Colossians, and this past Sunday we were in Colossians chapter 1, verses 15 through 18. And the crux or the focus of all this is the focus of the entire book of Colossians, and rightfully the entire scripture, is the preeminence of Christ. And I think it was really understanding for us what that means to see him and to know him, this biblical truth that in everything Christ is preeminent, the preeminence of Christ. And a lot of times we misconstrue prominent and preeminent, or even a priority and preeminent. And those two things aren't always the same, right? A prominent person, when Webster's defines that, is somebody who's famous or important. And a priority is a thing regarded as more important than other. Both those aspects, prominence and priorities, are both things that are arbitrary and can change in the moment by need, by what's important. What's important to you changes day by day, moment by moment. If you're really hungry, then food's important to you. If you're really thirsty, water's, you see where that goes. So the difference is Christ is preeminent, and that is the fact of surpassing all. It's the literal definition of that. The word that Paul used here in the letter to the Colossians, that he says preeminence, is not used anywhere else in the New Testament. It's showing the unique characteristic and attribute of Christ, that above all things, he is preeminent. And leading into this, he was going through, and he talked about that, reading through the in Colossians 1 and 15 there, where he's talking about he is the image of the invisible God. I'm reading my Bible, that's why you don't see me looking at you, right? For by him all things were created in heaven, on earth, visible and invisible, with thrones or dominions. All things were created through him and for him. He is before all things, and in him all things hold together. This is putting him not just at the center of the universe, but the creator of the universe, and in whom all things hold together. So therefore, in all this, Christ is preeminent. The truth of this is that impact that it should have in our lives, to the extent we understand that so much in our Christian walk, all of our Christian walk is a result, right, or an application of what we really believe. It's why we say belief matters. And what we really think about something is revealed in how we act. And so the preeminence of Christ must have real world application in the life of a believer. And what's that mean? It means that his will for me, his purpose for me, his commandments for me are preeminent, because he is preeminent. He is my priority, and he is prominent, but it's because he is preeminent. And he has those places at all times, and everything flows out and from that. Excuse me. Smoke if you got them, drink if you got them, right? But it's understanding in my life, do I see that, right? I'm not called just to follow his guidelines and check the boxes, and he's a good teacher, and that's great advice. Thank you, sir, and shake your hand. You're a great number one guy. It's like, no, you are the Lord Almighty. This isn't some prophet or teacher. The Christ is preeminent. He is the Son of God. He is the creator of the universe, the Alpha, the Omega, the first and the last. The Bible says who is and was and is to come. The weight of that begins to impact us. And I talked about this last week, and I think it's a true thing, that faith that we have, that hope that we have, that understanding of who Christ is. And the more and deeper we go into understanding who he is, it helps us and pulls us to him and towards him, because the greater that weight, the greater that gravitational pull. And so for us, as we look at our lives as believers, right, this is not a standard that it's a standard that we will all be held to at the end, but as believers right now, where's the real world application of Christ's preeminence in my life? And essentially, as Augustine said, right, if Christ is not valued at all unless he is valued above all. So if he does not have that place of preeminence in your life, then he's not Lord of your life. Right? Christ alone is the supreme and sufficient for us. If he's not Lord of all, he's not Lord at all, the old saying goes. And so does Christ, his word, his commandments, does his person Does he have preeminence in my life, and is that revealed in my actions? And if it is revealed in my actions, then it's going to be revealed in following his commandments as I abide in him and I bear fruit in keeping with my faith and my abiding in him. Again, leaning into the results of the practical application of Christ being not just first in my life, but preeminent in everything that I am and all that I do. And everything flows from that and through that. He's the center of my universe. He is my universe. He's not an aspect of my to-do list. He is my to-do list that everything else is shaped and moves around. And as I focus on him, the preeminence of him and who he is, I will be able to be a better pastor, worker, preacher. Those are all the same things. Partner, husband, parent. All those things are going to flow out of that understanding of who he is and his preeminence in my life. It's the simple thing, right? If Jesus is the most important person who ever lived, then what I know and understand and think about him is the most important thing for me. And what I think about him is going to be revealed in my actions. To the extent that you have given Christ preeminence in your life is going to be revealed in how you live that life. And so a life that is placing and has Christ centered and preeminent will be a life that lives out his love in their actions. And that's what we're called to do. And in the end, the ultimate goal of all of this isn't my salvation, but Christ's glory, the exaltation of the Son of God, Jesus Christ. And that is what preeminence in everything means. And so I hope that helps a little bit. We start to think about those, right? Not just prominent, not just a priority, but preeminent. And that preeminence is going to be lived out and revealed in all that we do. So there you go. There's a little digging deeper. I hope that's clear as mud for you. It's always fun to dive into this. I would encourage you, go back, listen to the whole sermon. You can grab the notes off the app, or you can get them on YouVersion as well. For this verse, we're in Colossians, reading through that as well. So I hope you're having a good day, a good week, and I hope to see you again soon. Now go get in the pit and try to love somebody.